don't really know what we can do or what to do in New York City or what's possible. In order for the solutions to work, people have to acknowledge that there's a problem. I've lived through 3 blackouts. I've lived through the oil shortage here. I've lived through AIDS. I don't see New Yorkers bonding together. After the blackout, they're okay the first day. Everybody was singing Kumbaya on the street together. But if that went on another day or so, what the result would be, I don't know if people would just start working together. There's definitely a big debate here. There's a lot of people in New York think it's sustainable, and I don't see the sustainability of something like this. I see it like a bubble. And I lived through the dot-com bubble, and you get a sense of a bubble. How are you going to get the food in? How are you going to get transportation going? How are you going to get electricity to all these places here?
We're in Taqua Community Farm right now, and we're in the High Bridge section of the Bronx.
Walaikum assalam, sister. How you doing? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, brother.
You can teach things about your family that you wouldn't be able to if you weren't gardening, because so much of the agricultural history is part of the people's history.
Take care.
I think what needs to happen for sites like this to stay here forever and then to have it expand is for the government to realize what an important role they play.
Flower, this is used for something different. You use it for to build your immune system, but the whole planet is for blood cleanser. It works.
Sometimes people are so much into what's being given to them until they forget the basics. And that's how they get lost. I think if they're taught the basics and they keep the basics in mind, that wouldn't be a problem at all. They may have to go back to doing some things the hard way, the hard labor, but a little labor is good for you anyway.
This is Diamante Garden, and our main priority, we work with children from the schools.
People sit down there to read. They have lunch on the table. They said, this is heaven.
It feels like the country and sounds like the country. So in the afternoon after work, it's a place for me to come and get away from the city.
You know what we do? We put a little table outside with tomatoes, the vegetables that we got, and we share with everybody. Everybody gets happy.
We tend to help one another, really, especially in these low-income neighborhoods.
We had a Mexican come out, had about 9 kids, and was willing to do anything just for his kids. He didn't ask for no money. You know, he said, just food. You know, so we give him some 2 big baskets of food.
These guys providing a food source to an area that needs it is like another thing that really needs to get drilled into the heads of the politicians.
I feel that one of the greatest things about community gardens it's the fact that people who live in a neighborhood have a say in what's happening in that neighborhood. It's a way for, I think, folks to take ownership over what their community is going to be like.
And you never be finished with the garden. You finish your garden, you finish your people. We're in the Garden of Eden, where we intend to stay.
In the waning months of 2005, our failure to face the problems before us as a society is really a wondrous thing to behold. Never before in American history have the public and its leaders shown such a lack of resolve or even interest in circumstances that will change forever how we live.
As one of the organizers of Petrocollapse, I sat at the registration desk and talked to people as they came out of the conference all day long. The problem with Petrocollapse was that people came out of it shell-shocked and definitely had no clue of what to do and became completely catatonic and shut down. If that was the goal, it accomplished it fairly well.
Part of it was because what they were hearing was mostly stuff about how bad it was going to get. Especially Mike Rupert was saying something's going to come, and it's going to come fairly soon. I mean, he's putting it on the calendar. People would say, well,
when?
When's it going to happen? You're a part of this, you should know. We have no idea, and we can't answer that.
By telling our friends and learning how people react to this idea that, maybe your entire interpretation of reality and how you live your daily life is going to change within your lifetime.
We started going to the peak oil meetup, and we're talking about peak oil a lot with other people.
We're talking about escape from suburbia. I don't want to escape from suburbia. I plan on staying where I am.
Even though the meetup has people that think that New York City is sustainable, we don't agree. After a couple of months of going to those meetings, we realize, okay, so what else?
I'm not going to these things with the idea that we can fail any longer. I'm going to these things with the idea that it's got to work. I also like inviting people in, but I'm really passionate, so people sometimes mistake my anger for my passion. I know when I'm angry about something and I let people know it, but being passionate about something can evoke people that they think it's anger. One of the things you're seeing community here. I didn't know these guys till our first peak oil meeting last March. And I really lucked out, Tom and I, because they kind of saved our life, because I didn't know what to do last March. He knew I was like, I was at my rope. I was driving him crazy. I was driving myself crazy. I had lost my career because of 9/11, and Tom's life hadn't been affected to the same extreme mine was. He didn't lose his job. He was on a career track. Things were going well at the engineering firm. So we were really on two different kind of paths at this point. I've always had an issue with his therapist. I found her to not be an ally, but to be a hindrance to changing our lifestyle. I find they're much more denial-oriented to realities of things. They want the evidence only after the evidence is there. You're not intellectually stimulated to go right to your computer after your client has left and said something that's so mind-boggling that you're not looking up the words peak oil.
People don't want to know something so awful like that in this city because it's so counter to why they want to be here.